And yeah, we've got a special guest on the line this morning. The resume is a mile long, so I'm going to try to do this quick. It's James Gagliano, who locally just happens to be the mayor of Cornwall and Hudson, but he is also a West Point grad, former FBI special agent. He was part of the elite hostage rescue team for the FBI, a senior SWAT team leader. Like I said, the resume goes on and on. You might have seen him on television as a law enforcement analyst. If you look at his face on our Facebook group, you'll know who he is. Good morning, James. It's great to have you here with us this morning.
Well, Rose, thanks for the nice wind-up. Remember, people with long bios, they're really insecure. The shorter the bio, the more important the person. So I think that says it all.
No, I don't think that's true at all. I can't imagine you being insecure. All right, so let's just jump right to this. Yesterday was the hearing with the acting director of the senior service. He testified about this assassination attempt, the thing that happened in Butler, PA on the former president just 17 days ago or so. Really curious, what your thoughts are. He received some grilling, right? What your thoughts are after that.
He did, and I thought he acquitted himself well. He was also joined by the deputy director of the FBI, Paul Abate, and I thought both of them were as transparent as they could be. And I know the American public, wants transparency, but there are certain things, and you know that these congressional hearings are often an opportunity for politicians, and I unfortunately claim myself in that group, for grandstanding and theater. And I think it would have been much more effective behind closed doors. The exchanges did get heated. I thought the acting director of the Secret Service certainly did a better job of kind of outlining where the mistakes were. And make no mistake, the Secret Service has been around since 1865. I think President Lincoln, tragically before he was killed by an assassin's bullet, actually put that into process. Been around a long time. Only 4 presidents have been killed under their watch, 4 too many, of course. And then in 1975, President Ford there was an attempt on his life, and in 1981, we know there was an attempt on President Reagan. Truly a rare thing, but Rose, I got to tell you, the colossal list of cascading failures in this protection detail, and I say that not as a Monday morning quarterback, but as somebody who served on 3 attorney generals protection details and 2 FBI director protection details. I'm hoping that the 3 concurrent investigations, which are now ongoing, will get to the bottom of this and get us some answers, and soon.
Yeah, it's like there was some colossal communication breakdown, apparently. There was all kinds of stuff going around social media yesterday. I'm hoping what I read was true. But I know there were apparently some text messages sent to the Butler SWAT team before the shooting with pictures of the guy on the roof and people saying he was there. And somehow or another, they did not they were not able to convey that to the Secret Service. Is that true?
So this is something. This is a tale that is as long as time, and really it's and I don't mean to use a wonky highfalutin word here, but it's interoperability, and that means can the local police, can the Beaver Township police, can the uniformed personnel on the ground, can the state police and the Secret Service all speak together? Now, having been in just many, probably numbering in the hundreds of operations similar to this, of this size, scope, and magnitude, everybody thinks, why weren't they just on the same frequency? Yeah. That is impossible. You cannot do that. The snipers would be on one frequency. The counter-assault team would be on another frequency. The command group would be on one frequency. The command post has a frequency. The locals have a frequency. And then you have liaisons attached to each of those groups with members from those other internecine organizations, and the information gets relayed in as quick a fashion as possible. Obviously, that didn't happen here. But when you're talking about somebody yelling gun, a minute and a half out, and the message, hey, he's up on a roof with a gun being relayed 30 seconds out, for that to get sent to the command post and decisions to be made. And remember, these are life and death decisions. We obviously had somebody lose their life tragically there, 2 others seriously wounded, and a former president almost assassinated. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt until the investigation is completed. But yes, your point about communications, that is always the number one problem when you're doing this with interagency cooperation.
I'm glad that you were able to, clarify that for us and for our listeners, because, to the average person, when you hear this and the way they lay it out, some of these, news programs and whatever, it seems like a no-brainer. It's like it should be easy, but what you just said really explains to us why it isn't so easy for them to just communicate the information to each other. I really never thought about it that way, but you're right. There's so much going on, right?
And you have to remember, too, this is not an NSSE. And again, I don't want to get too wonky or too inside baseball, but for your listeners, a national special security event is like the United Nations General Assembly, the Republican National Convention, which was just held in Milwaukee, the upcoming Democratic National Convention. Those are NSSE events. There is never an issue with resources. There's never an issue with tabletopping, field training exercise, interagencies working out the issues long in advance, because these events are planned up to a year or longer in advance. This event in Butler, Pennsylvania was probably put on their schedule a week ahead of time. So the Secret Service now has a paucity of resources committed to this. This is not the current president. It's a former president, and yes, he is a candidate for the presidency. But so that short amount of time, and then you're dealing with agencies you've never worked with before. You're going from one city or one town to another every couple of days for these campaign rallies. I'm not making excuses. There should be some accountability here, and there may be people. Obviously, the Secret Service director herself, Director Cheadle, fell on her sword and resigned. And there may be other people that need to be administratively sanctioned or fired. But I'm just saying that the way these things happen, the paucity of resources that are thrown at an event like this, the frequency with which they happen, these aren't excuses. It's just kind of applying a little bit of context.
Jim, this is John Roberts. Just a moment. You were just talking about something that piqued my interest. Do you think that as a result of something like this, it will create a sense of required additional time before rallies and things like this are held?
No, sir, I don't. Great question, and here's the reason why. I learned this as a young FBI agent when I was assigned to the Attorney General Janet Reno's protection detail in a TDY capacity right after the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995. Senior agent pulled me aside and said, complacency kills. Treat every one of these surveillances, treat every one of these protectees like this is the most important person in the world, and that's how you have to treat it, and you cannot let your guard down. He also said one other thing, and I think, John, this goes to your point. If you are willing to die in the process, there is not a man or woman on the planet that we can 100% guarantee can be protected. And when you have presidents and politicians writ large who need to get out in front of their people, they don't want to be in a bunker, they don't want to stay locked into the White House 24/7, 365, they want to shake hands and kiss babies, connect with their constituency. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter how much time you use, how much training you do, there's always an opportunity. Your job as an agent is to reduce the variables. And in this instance, that rooftop, and all I have to do is say rooftop, and all your listeners know what we're talking about, that unguarded rooftop was a variable they did not factor in or got overlooked, and that was the Achilles heel.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for breaking all of this down and explaining it to us. After the hearing yesterday, do you still have any, questions that are still lurking for you, or you're just going to wait for as they proceed with more investigations?
I try to be careful. I mean, and you guys are asking the right questions. These are the questions the American public has, and these are the questions that the senators, when they stopped pontificating, proselytizing, and actually got to asking good questions, were trying to get at. I think I was disappointed also with the finger pointing. I mean, you had members of an active duty SWAT team in Beaver Township showing up on the news and talking about the operation while it's still under investigation. I thought that was wrong. I then thought the Secret Service director, or the acting Secret Service director yesterday, had to thread the needle and try to, accept the blame, which the Secret Service, this is the terminology, is the lead agency, meaning they are in charge of everything when it comes to a protection detail. However, understanding how this works and understanding that they have to use locals and they're going from town to town, city to city when you're on the campaign trail, John, it's just difficult, to your question, to be able to think that, hey, can we plan this out a month in advance? Can we plan this out in a year in advance? And can we have more resources? There are finite resources, and unfortunately, every SWAT team, every police department, every law enforcement organization is not the same. And I fear that's going to be another piece of this that comes out.
All righty, James Gagliano, thank you so much. And I guess the investigation continues, and we will find out more as things unfold. We appreciate you being here with us this morning and for really, clearing a lot up and explaining a lot of this to us. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me join. Take care, guys.
Take care.